Have you ever stopped to think, how a trade deal, something that seems so distant, negotiated by governments, could actually affect that small shop down your street? Or even, say, the price of your favorite local craft beer?
It feels pretty abstract sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But these agreements, they really ripple through our economy in, well, surprisingly real ways. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something really current, really relevant, the brand new EU trade deal. It just posted, what, July 28th, 2025?
That's right, very fresh. And our mission here really is to dissect this complex agreement to understand its double-edged sword nature, especially for SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises.
SMEs, right.
And the fascinating thing, which often gets missed, is that SMEs aren't some small slice of the pie. They make up a huge 99% of all businesses in the EU.
99%. Wow, that's massive. So this isn't just about the big guys, the Apples and Amazons.
Not at all.
This is about that whole ecosystem, the dynamic, sometimes vulnerable, smaller businesses that actually drive so much innovation and create jobs.
So the insights we're sharing today, they're relevant if you're a business owner, sure, but also if you're just interested in economics or maybe you just want to understand the news a bit better, feel more informed.
Exactly. And our insights today, they come from a pretty comprehensive guide. It's from a factoring specialist, so it offers a really practical, business-focused view on what this new deal actually means on the ground.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. When we talk about a modern trade deal, what's actually inside it? Because honestly, my first thought is just tariffs, lower taxes at the border. But it's clearly way more than that, right?
Oh, absolutely. Much more. Think of it like building a whole new framework, a blueprint for international commerce, designed to make everything smoother, more predictable.
Gentler, predictable. Okay. Yeah. And our source lays out about 7 key parts that go way beyond just tariffs. First, okay, the one everyone talks about, tariff reductions and elimination. Lowering or getting rid of taxes on imports.
Right, the basics.
But here's the thing. Even small reductions, marginal ones, can have a huge impact on costs. Think about, say, a small artisanal chocolate maker.
Okay.
Importing some rare cocoa bean. Maybe even a 2% tariff cut on that bean means they can suddenly compete better. Or maybe invest that saving back into, sustainable sourcing. Something that makes them stand out.
So it's not just about saving a few pennies. It unlocks strategic choices.
Precisely. It's not just a cheaper bean. It could be a whole new path for them.
That's powerful. So less tax, sure. But you said it's also about making the process easier.
Exactly. That brings us to the second and honestly often bigger area, reducing non-tariff barriers, NTBs. These are the hurdles other than tariffs.
Okay, like what? Red tape?
Pretty much. Things like simplified customs procedures, less paperwork, less waiting time. Imagine mutual recognition. Your declaration in one country is automatically good in the partner country, like a fast track.
Right. Avoids duplication.
Speeds things up massively. Less time stuck, more time selling. Then there's harmonization or mutual recognition of standards. This is huge for things like food, medicine, electronics, different safety rules, technical specs. Trying to meet multiple sets can be a nightmare for SMEs.
I can imagine, especially for food.
Definitely. Which is why there are also specific sanitary and phytosanitary measures, SPS, clear science-based rules for agriculture and food products.
So making sure your stuff is actually allowed in and then gets through the border quickly without a ton of hassle.
You got it. Then number 3 is services liberalization, making it easier to sell services across borders. IT, consulting, design, you name it.
How does that work?
Things like recognizing professional qualifications, so an architect licensed here can work more easily there. And big digital trade provisions, too. Secure data flows, consumer protection online, cybersecurity standards.
Okay, that's crucial now.
Yeah. 4th, investment protection. This creates a more stable environment. If you're a small firm wanting to set up overseas, this gives you some assurance your investment is safe from, sudden rule changes or unfair treatment.
Builds confidence, basically. Encourages money to flow.
Exactly. Indirectly helps SMEs by bringing more investment into their sectors. 5th, stronger intellectual property rights or IPR. Better enforcement of patents, trademarks, copyrights, vital for innovative SMEs.
Protecting their ideas.
Absolutely. 6th, government procurement. Opening doors for SMEs to bid on public contracts in other countries, that can be a huge new market.
Wow, yeah. Accessing government spending is big.
And finally, 7th, clear dispute settlement mechanisms. A proper rules-based way to sort out trade disagreements instead of messy legal fights.
Okay, so taken together, it really is a comprehensive framework. It's not just tweaking tariffs. It's trying to build this whole smoother, more predictable environment for international business.
That's the goal, yes.
But here's where it gets interesting for me. You called it a double-edged sword earlier.
Yeah.
The smoother, more predictable world. How could that actually create new problems or pressures, especially for those smaller companies? Let's really dig into that.
Yeah, that's the crux of it. It genuinely presents both these amazing opportunities and some pretty significant risks that SMEs really need to think about proactively.
Okay, let's start with the good news. The upside. Seizing new opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
What are the main benefits hitting these smaller businesses?
Well, the benefits boil down to basically saving money and finding new ways to grow. First off, enhanced market access. Fewer barriers just mean a bigger potential customer base, dramatically bigger sometimes. Think of that artisanal food producer again, maybe in rural Italy. Suddenly, selling their specialty cheese to millions of new customers in a partner country is much easier. Tariffs down, regulations streamlined.
So they're not just stuck in their local market anymore.
Exactly. They can diversify where their money comes from, maybe achieve economies of scale they couldn't before. They can think bigger.
Makes sense. What else?
Second, cost reductions. We talked about lower tariffs on inputs like an electronics firm getting cheaper microchips, but it's also less admin burden from those simpler procedures and access to maybe cheaper or even higher quality suppliers globally.
So savings on multiple fronts.
Yes. Third, innovation and knowledge transfer. Just interacting more across borders exposes SMEs to new tech, new ways of doing business. It fosters collaboration, pushes them to maybe specialize more. That cross-pollination itself is a driver.
Learning from others, essentially.
Right. Fourth, increased investment and funding. A stable trade environment attracts foreign investment, as we said, and it can make it easier for SMEs to get international finance because the risks look clearer to banks.
Okay.
And fifth, strengthening supply chains. Being able to source from more places, improved logistics. It can make their operations much more resilient if one supplier or route has problems.
Okay, that's a pretty compelling list of upsides. Access, cost savings, innovation, funding, resilience. But like you said, every big change has hurdles.
Yeah.
Let's flip the coin. The downside. Navigating the risks. What hits first?
Well, the opportunities are definitely there, but businesses need to brace themselves. The number one concern is probably intensified competition.
The other side of market access.
Exactly. As your market opens up to others, foreign firms come in. They might be bigger, more efficient, just
Right.
different. That local bakery we mentioned suddenly faces a big foreign competitor who can ship goods in cheaply now.
Puts pressure on prices. Means you really have to stand out.
Absolutely. You have to differentiate more than ever. So you get access to their market, but they get access to yours. It's a two-way street and sometimes a tough one.
A real balancing act. Okay, what's next on the risk list?
Second, the regulatory compliance burden. Even with simplification efforts, there are still new rules. Product standards, labeling, environmental regs, data privacy, like GDPR.
GDPR, yeah, that's a big one.
Huge. And then there are things like rules of origin. Sounds simple, right? Prove where your product comes from to get the tariff discount.
Sounds fiddly.
It can be incredibly complex, like proving where every single ingredient in a complex recipe originated. For an SME with parts coming from all over, it can be a massive administrative headache. Time-consuming, costly.
Yeah, I can just picture a small business owner feeling overwhelmed, suddenly needing to be an expert in international law and logistics overnight.
It can feel like that. Third, supply chain adjustments. Just the transition period can cause disruptions. Plus, relying more on international chains might increase geopolitical risk or just introduce new logistical complexities you didn't have before.
Things can go wrong further away.
Precisely. Fourth, currency fluctuations and financial risks. Exchange rates bouncing around can wipe out your profit margin unexpectedly, and getting paid by international clients carries risks too, requires careful management, maybe insurance.
Managing foreign exchange is tricky.
Definitely. Fifth, human resources and skill gaps. Maybe language barriers become an issue, or you just don't have people in-house with international trade expertise. Finding that talent can be tough.
And expensive.
And expensive. Finally, while IPR protection is meant to be stronger, intellectual property infringement is still a risk. And actually enforcing your rights in a foreign country, that can be a complex and costly battle for a small company.
Right, so a lot to watch out for. Now this impact, it won't be the same for everyone, will it? Some industries must feel the opportunities more, others maybe the challenges. What stands out to you there?
Oh, definitely not uniform. Each sector really faces its own specific landscape, its own kind of battleground, you could say.
Okay, like who?
Take manufacturing. Big opportunity. Reduce costs on imported raw materials, components. That can really help margins.
Oh, the flip side.
Intense competition from foreign manufacturers entering their home market. That's the major challenge.
So for manufacturers, it's that classic trade-off. Cheaper inputs, but a tougher fight selling the finished goods. How do they handle that besides just cutting prices?
They really have to focus on differentiation, maybe highly specialized niche products, or superior quality, maybe really strong after-sales service that a distant competitor can't match easily. Lean into their strengths.
Gotcha. What about services? You mentioned IT, consulting.
For services, especially digital ones like IT, the big win is easier cross-border service provision. Sell your expertise globally without needing offices everywhere.
Sounds great. The catch.
Navigating those different data privacy laws across borders. GDPR is just one example. For businesses handling a lot of data, that's a potential minefield. Very complex.
Right. And what about agriculture? Food producers.
Well,
Often smaller family-run businesses.
yeah, for agriculture and food, the opportunity is definitely opening new export markets, especially for high-value stuff, organic, geographical indications like Parma ham or Champagne. Well, maybe more like specialty cheeses or regional wines for SMEs.
Niche products.
Exactly. But the challenge is meeting those strict foreign food safety standards, the SPS measures we talked about. They can be incredibly detailed, vary a lot, and compliance can be costly.
High hurdles to clear. Okay, retail, e-commerce.
For retail and e-commerce, the opportunity is huge. Expanded customer reach. Cheaper, faster, cross-border shipping turns a local online shop global.
Suddenly selling everywhere.
Potentially. The challenge. Logistics, especially for international returns. And providing customer service across time zones and languages, that can get complicated and expensive fast for a small setup.
Yeah, returns are a pain even domestically.
Yeah.
Okay, one more tourism.
Tourism and hospitality. The opportunity is pretty direct. More tourists, more business travel, potentially, thanks to easier movement, maybe. Or just increased economic activity. Good for hotels, restaurants, local attractions.
And the challenge.
They're very sensitive to the economy, aren't they? Economic downturns, global crises, international travel can dry up quickly. It's a volatile sector.
Right. So it's really clear every sector has its own unique mix of pros and cons. Needs a tailored game plan. Which brings us to the big question. What does this actually mean for a small business owner on the ground? Someone may be feeling a bit overwhelmed by all this. How do they not just, survive this shift, but actually thrive?
Well, being passive isn't really an option. Proactive adaptation is key. The source actually lays out a kind of 5-step strategy, like an SME playbook for success.
A playbook, okay. What's step 1?
Step 1, assess. You have to start by understanding how this deal specifically impacts you. Conduct a thorough impact assessment, a proper SWOT analysis. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats focused on the deal's rules for your particular sector.
Know the battlefield before you charge in. Makes sense. But for a small team, maybe just a few people, resources are tight. If you had to pick one step out of these 5, what's the absolute non-negotiable, the one thing that, if they miss it, could sink them?
That's a tough one. They're all important, really interconnected. But if I had to choose, I'd say assess is fundamental. If you don't understand the specific impacts, the opportunities and threats for your business, how can you possibly strategize effectively? Maybe comply is tied for first failing on regulations can stop you dead.
Right. Understand the rules and follow them. Foundational. Okay, what's step 2 in the playbook?
Step 2, digitize. You really have to embrace e-commerce, digital marketing, build a strong online presence, maybe multilingual websites, international SEO, use e-commerce platforms, target your digital ads effectively, automate processes where you can.
Get online, get visible globally.
Absolutely. Step 3, differentiate. With more competition, you need to stand out. Focus on niche markets. Hammer home your unique selling points, quality, craftsmanship, sustainability, whatever it is. Build your brand. Offer customization if you can.
Don't try to compete just on price if you're small. Find your edge.
Exactly. Step 4, diversify. Build resilience. That means resilient supply chains, scout for new suppliers in different regions. Assess risks. Maybe hold buffer stocks of key items. And partner with experienced logistics firms who know the ropes internationally.
Spread your risk, basically. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Precisely. And 5th, comply. We touched on this, but it needs its own step. Prioritize legal due diligence. Talk to lawyers who understand international trade early. Proactively figure out what certifications you need and get them. Register your trademarks and patents in target markets before you launch there.
Cover your bases legally and protect your assets. That sounds like a solid playbook. Assess, digitize, differentiate, diversify, comply. But it strikes me, it's not just about what you do internally, is it? It sounds like a lot for one small business to handle alone. Surely it's also about who you connect with. They don't have to go it alone, right?
Absolutely not. That's a critical point. There's actually a significant amount of support out there specifically designed to help SMEs navigate exactly this kind of new landscape, an entire ecosystem, really.
Okay, so what kind of help are we talking about? What safety nets or maybe accelerators are available? Where does a business owner even begin to look?
There's a whole range, from very local right up to the EU level. First, look at your own national governments. Ministries of Trade or Economy often have dedicated SME support info portals. Export promotion agencies can provide market research, help organize trade missions. Sometimes there's financial help too, export credit guarantees, subsidies, low interest loans specifically for exporting.
So start with your home country's resources.
Definitely. Second, the European Union institutions themselves offer a lot. The European Commission, specifically DG Trade, has guides and resources, and the Enterprise Europe Network, the EEN, is huge. They offer practical business support, help find partners across borders, support innovation, very hands-on.
Right, so help from home and help from the EU level working together.
Exactly. Third, don't forget chambers of commerce and industry associations. Great for networking, training workshops, getting market intelligence. Plus, they advocate for SMEs, making sure their concerns are heard by policymakers.
Your local business community connection?
Yeah. Fourth, export finance and insurance institutions. Think export credit agencies, ECAs, or specialized banks. They offer trade finance products that help manage the financial risks of selling internationally, like getting paid.
De-risking the money side. Crucial.
Very. Fifth, loads of digital platforms and online resources. Government trade portals, online marketplaces designed for B2B, e-learning modules on exporting. Lots of info online if you look.
Digital tools and learning.
And finally, sixth, sometimes academic institutions can help. Universities might have research centers focused on trade, or you could even get student teams for projects like market research through internships.
Okay, so there really is a whole network of support out there. But
Yeah.
the key seems to be the business has to be proactive, right? They need to actually seek out and use these resources. They don't just fall into your lap.
That's essential. Knowing this support exists is one thing. Actively engaging with it, asking for help, using the tools, that's what can make the difference between feeling overwhelmed and actually seizing the opportunities. It really can reduce the burden.
Okay, this has been really insightful, laying out the framework, the pros, the cons, the strategies, the support. To really bring it home, maybe let's look at some hypothetical examples. Scenarios that help you, the listener, connect these policy details to real-world business choices.
Good idea. Let's imagine 3 different SMEs. First, Green Tech Innovations, a Danish company making advanced solar panel inverters.
Okay, high-tech manufacturing.
Right. Before this new deal, let's say they faced a 10% tariff going into partner country X, plus they had to get a separate, expensive local certification for their products, which took months.
Barriers to entry.
Big ones. Now, the new EU deal phases out that tariff completely. It establishes mutual recognition, meaning their existing EU CE mark certification is accepted in country X, and customs procedures are simplified.
Wow, okay, so multiple roadblocks just gone.
Pretty much. What's the impact? Their inverters instantly become more price competitive. They save maybe 15,000 euros on that extra certification, and they avoid a 6-9 month delay getting to market. Huge advantage in speed and cost. Logistics are smoother, too.
Sounds like a clear win. Any challenges?
The challenge was increased competition from established local players in country X who maybe didn't have those import barriers before. So Green Tech had to really emphasize their superior data engineering, maybe invest more in local customer support to build trust and differentiate.
Right, so success, but they still had to adapt and compete harder locally.
Okay,
Case number 2.
let's take Artisan Delights, a small organic food producer in rural France making specialty cheeses.
Ah, our artisanal producer again.
Exactly. They wanted to export to partner country Y, but faced a killer 25% tariff, really complex sanitary rules, and different strict local labeling requirements basically made it impossible.
Non-starter.
Totally. The New Deal. Slash of that tariff from 25% down to just 5%. It streamlines the SPS protocols, making compliance easier, and it harmonizes labeling rules so they don't need totally separate packaging.
That's a game changer. Must have completely opened the door.
It made market entry viable almost overnight. Their cheeses became competitive on price. Compliance costs dropped dramatically. They found a local importer and maybe saw sales in country Y jump 30% in the first year, enough to invest in new equipment, hire more people back home.
Fantastic outcome. Challenges for them.
Challenges were more about understanding a local consumer tastes, maybe cheese preferences were different, and managing currency fluctuations on their new export revenue. They tackled it with localized marketing and some smart financial hedging.
Great example of a traditional business going global. Okay, final case.
Third one, Codecraft Solutions, a small Irish software development agency, custom web apps.
Service business.
Yes. They were hesitant about clients in partner country Z because of tricky data localization laws. Data had to stay in country Z. And restrictions on providing services across borders. Even getting their developers' visas for short client visits was a hassle.
Digital and physical roadblocks.
Right. The new trade deal includes a dedicated digital trade chapter, ensures free data flow, with safeguards, of course. It brings in mutual recognition for things like digital signatures. And it simplifies visa processes for skilled workers, like their developers, for short trips.
So clearing the path for digital services and the people who provide them.
Exactly. The result. Codecraft could actively target clients in country Z. They landed several big contracts, their legal overheads dropped because the rules were clearer, and their developers could easily travel for important face-to-face meetings, building better client relationships.
Makes a big difference in services. What were their hurdles?
Competition from local software firms in country Z was intense, and they had to adapt to big time zone differences and subtle cultural communication styles. They invested in better project management tools and some cross-cultural training for their team to overcome that.
Okay, 3 really distinct examples. Green tech, artisan delights, Codecraft. They really illustrate how success isn't just about the deal itself. It hinges on how businesses adapt strategically, innovate, and crucially, like we discussed, tap into that support network. It does genuinely sound like this creates a more, maybe not easy, but certainly a more favorable environment for ambitious SMEs to think bigger, to step onto that global stage. So let's try and wrap this up. Summing up our deep dive today, this new EU trade deal, clearly a major shift, a real game changer for SMEs. It presents these huge opportunities, yes, but also some very real challenges in a world that's getting more competitive, more complex.
Definitely both sides of the coin.
But the key message seems to be that with the right approach, being proactive, using those strategies like digitizing, differentiating, diversifying your supply chains, and critically, by tapping into all that support that's available from governments, from the EU, from industry groups, small businesses really can navigate this. They can flourish, not just survive.
Absolutely. And maybe connecting this to the bigger picture, understanding these kinds of shifts, it isn't just for CEOs or economists. It's really useful for anyone who wants to be well-informed about how our global economy actually works, how it's changing.
Right.
It just highlights how interconnected everything is, how a policy decision made, seemingly far away can ripple right down and create these profound impacts, challenges, and opportunities for the smallest businesses in our communities. It really can transform things.
So here's a final thought for you to mull over after our discussion. Considering everything we've talked about, think about a small business, one you admire. What's one specific way they could potentially leverage this new EU trade deal? Or maybe what's one challenge they might face that you hadn't really considered before today? Something to ponder.
Good question to leave people with.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it's given you some valuable insights, and we encourage you, as always, to keep exploring the world of information with curiosity.